I've told this story in other places, on other accounts before, but it bears repeating. One day, when I was an elementary schooler, I think probably 3rd or 4th grade, I was awoken by my mom in a rush. She had overslept, and since she always woke me up in the morning, this meant that I too overslept, and now there was just no way I was gonna be ready for school early enough to get on the school bus, IRC. School started at 8 a.m., and my bus pickup time was 7 a.m., but it was already like 6:40 or something, and I was still in my pajamas and hadn't even had breakfast yet. So Mom decided that today, we would just tell the bus driver to go on ahead and she would take me to school, which would give me plenty of time to get ready. So I'm sitting there at the dining room table eating breakfast, still in my pajamas, and it's now about 6:50. We hear the bus pull up, about 10 minutes earlier than usual. My mom peeks her head out of the door, into the foggy morning, and waves the bus on. She closes the door and comes back inside, but the bus doesn't pull away. There's a knock at the door, and Mom opens it to find a man in a bus driver uniform. He explains that he's a substitute driver, because the regular driver called in sick. He says he knows he's a few minutes early, since he wanted to get an early start on the route since he didn't know it well. Mom explains to him that she was gonna take me to school since we woke up late. He gets visibly upset, and says that he can wait a few minutes since he's already running ahead of schedule. My mom insists that no, I won't be ready to go in a few minutes, and tells him to go on ahead. He seemed angry about this, but turned around and got back in the bus and left. I returned to eating my breakfast, and still don't have my school clothes on at this point. But at 7 a.m. sharp, another bus pulls up to my house. Mom thinks this is weird and goes outside to talk to them. She comes back inside looking terrified, but doesn't really say anything about it and tells me to finish getting ready for school. At the time, I didn't know what happened, but Mom would end up telling me a few years later, when she went to the second bus, she found that it was being driven by my regular bus driver, and it was full of all the other kids that are usually on the route. The other bus was empty, by the way. Mom asks the driver about the substitute driver and about him calling in sick. I never called in sick. There is no substitute driver on my route, he says. The driver immediately called dispatch in a panic, and told my mom to go inside and call the police, which she did, without me knowing, and report this incident. There was absolutely no one doing my driver's route that day. Whoever this was most likely a kidnapper who had targeted me. I never heard anything about it again. Not even if someone else had ended up being picked up by this mysterious fake bus driver. But chances are, had I gotten on that bus, I would have never made it to school or back home. And if Mom hadn't overslept on that specific day, I would have been on that bus. This happened a few years ago when I was 21 and had to travel by bus regularly. It was a normal day. I left my home, took the bus down to the city, and waited at the bus station for my next bus. Suddenly a girl greeted me. She was cute, so I thought I may be lucky. I greeted her back. She asked if my name D, which was pretty confusing and scary. I said yes, probably already with some confusion in my voice because she giggled. She asked if I took that bus often, how long the travel was, where I lived, and all kinds of weird stuff. What struck me weird was how quickly she just nodded and moved on to another question. My younger self thought maybe she is just in a rush, or the kind of weirdo which talks fast. I even forgot during all these questions that she knew my name already but never told me hers. When the bus finally arrived, she said goodbye and just left. Didn't even take the same bus, which I realized after sitting down. Suddenly the weirdness struck me again, and I realized how much she asked in a way that seems more like checking a list instead of learning something new. A few days later I met my during that time best friend. He was stressed, so I asked what was going on. I knew he had some trouble with his parents, so I thought it may be something along these lines. He told me instead that his ex turned into a stalker. He never gave her a key, yet she suddenly stood in his flat when he got home from work. She messaged and phoned his parents in order to get an explanation, to talk to him, to accuse them of talking him into a breakup. She also visited him during work and made a scene, his boss being the person throwing her out of the building and threatening to call the police. I remembered the girl from the bus station. I described her even though I could only vaguely remember what she looked like, and he nodded and told me that was her while getting pale. I asked how she knew me and why she wanted to talk to me, which he couldn't answer. She knew my name because he talked about me once, but he never told her more than that. We didn't learn how she learned so much about me. And we never want to because he had it harder than me. He got terrorized at home by her, which drove him to the decision to finally call the police and get a restraining order. We never again talked about the situation because it was just so. The reason they broke up was her accusing him over and over again of cheating. She was the one breaking up but also seemed to go mental at the same time. I'm a 16-year-old guy, and I wasn't expecting this to happen to me. So, I just want to point out that this doesn't only happen to women. 2 days ago, I was coming back from school. For background information, the bus students go to goes to the center of the town. I take that one, and then I take another bus to get to my stop, where I have to walk maybe 200 or 300 meters away from my house. I took the bus from the school towards the center, then waited at my stop. There were other kids from other school that waited, and the creep. He wore his hat down, and was glancing at me every now and then. I ignored him by putting my earphones on. This lasted for 10 minutes, until the bus finally came. I forgot about the guy, but was still creeped out. I got on the bus, and took an empty seat. I noticed the creep get on the bus too, and he was walking towards me. My red flags weren't out yet, but I still checked just in case. He took a seat behind me, and then the bus started heading to the next stop. I heard something in the background of my music. I turned the volume down, and I heard a voice from behind me. From this same fucking guy. I pressed pause, and heard him ask, "Hey, I think we live near each other. Can you just tell me at which stop we are supposed to leave?" Of course, you'd think it's stupid of me to tell him the truth, but it'd be a bit of an asshole move to tell him bullshit if he lives near me. The bus approached near a stop that is at 5 or 6 stops from my place. I changed seat, imitating as if I needed to get off the bus. The creep moved too. God damn it, he's lying and is following me. I then waited for one of the busier stops, and God was with me, because there was a crowd of teens, probably planning to smoke and drink. As soon as the doors opened, I ran the fuck away from the bus, and crossed the roads and entered a random shop. I kept my head down, and looked out the window. As soon as the students were separating, I looked for the creep. And I could see him, looking for me. I took off my hoodie, and put in my bag. I then went to the bathroom to make my hair wet. I fucked up my hair to make myself look at least a little different, and then left the shop. I walked the long way towards the next stop, making turns at every possibility. After walking around a bit, I went to a small cafe and waited there a bit. I sent a text to my dad if he can get me. He asked me why, and I told him the whole thing. He picked me up like Usain Bolt, and then drove me home. I don't know who the hell the guy was and what the hell he planned out. I don't think he lives near me, and I fucking hope not. But whatever the fuck it is, creep in the bus, let's not meet. As soon as I get on the bus, I notice this guy sitting in the front. Seems and looks like a normal dude, like he just finished a long day of work. When I find a seat by the window near the back, that same guy moves to a seat in front of me, which also gives him a clear view of me. I was wondering why, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt. However, there was something about this entire situation that just didn't seem right, so I begin watching him from the reflection on the window. I see that he's staring at me, and when I look in his direction, he looks away. Okay. He then proceeds to look out the window, rummage through his bags, drink some Gatorade, apply some Vaseline onto his hands, basically trying to come off as inconspicuous as possible. Yet there was something about the way his feet were positioned, how he was constantly doing something, and obviously him looking at me, that did not settle right with me. The stop I was planning on getting off at is a really quiet part of the city, and I'd have to walk a bit to get to my destination. With businesses already closed, there'd be nobody around besides cars zooming by. So at the very last minute, I decide to get off in a much more busy area. Just like I fucking predicted, he catches me from the corner of his eye, requesting the driver to stop, and starts getting ready to leave too. I'm slow to alight, and so is he. I look at him, and so is he. Since the stop is directly in front of a train station, I prayed that he was just going to walk in there, so that all of this was a misunderstanding. Nah. There's a good distance between us on the street, but he puts his bags down, pretends to rummage them, but still has his eyes on me. I stay where I am, also because another bus at that same stop was going to come soon that'd take me closer to my destination, and watch him from the corner of my eye. A couple minutes pass and he walks away. I notice him getting on the streetcar a block down, and I can finally breathe. I see my bus coming and am just so fucking relieved. I look back in his direction one last time, and notice that he got off the streetcar and is just standing there. LMFAO. I hurry into the bus and pray that he doesn't make a run to get in. He doesn't, and I get to my destination safely, even though the bus driver completely skips over my stop for some fucking reason, but whatever. As long as he isn't following me anymore. So yeah, that happened. I'm writing this post to warn you guys to seriously be aware of your surroundings and always question. Normal-looking people are capable of being suspicious as fuck. Had I not first walk into the bus and notice him change seats, I don't know what would have happened to me tonight.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and share it so more people can join this nice community.